My name is Diana Kamande. I'm a survivor of gender violence, specifically domestic violence. I'm the founder of Come Together Widows and Orphans Organization, an organization that champions for the rights of widows, women and girls who have survived gender violence, and orphans. Today I'm here to talk about gender violence that has really increased, especially during this time that we have lockdown. This lockdown that has been caused by the virus that we are really trying to fight, not only as a country but also as the world. COVID-19 has really brought about so many issues, especially within the family setup. And out of the so many cases that we have continued to receive as an organization, we have come to realize that there are so many people who have been in the marriage setup, but they did not know each other. Husband and wife who have been married, living together, but they have been working, going to work, coming home. Sometimes they get late, traffic. There is a lot of traffic maybe when they are coming back home. Sometimes they have to pass by their social places, have fun with their friends. This had previously contributed to so many spouses not knowing each other, because they part ways in the morning going to work, they meet in the evening, they need to attend to the children, they need to check how their home managers, whether they had some good time with their children, whether they help their children do their assignment. So there has been no time for family between the husband and the wife. So this lockdown has contributed to family time that nobody had taught any of them on how to utilize family time. Because even when you find people say they have family time, you find this family time was going to the malls, taking the children to swing and swim, and families used to say that they already had family time now. And this was also not the intention of God. The intention of God in families was people to have time together, sit as a family, share the word of God for those who are Christians and they're born again, check on their children, and also just sit down and do their marriage mapping as a couple. But instead of doing their marriage mapping, now what we are seeing, coronavirus did not give a notice that it was coming. So out of the little savings that the family had, they used the money thinking the virus was to last for 1-2 weeks. But now the virus is here with us. It has overstayed than we thought it was supposed to stay. So there has been a lot of financial constraints. We are used to, most of the time, men playing the bigger part in most of the families in provision. Now you hear that a man has spent all the money that he had saved, and now he, according to the agreement maybe they had as a couple, you hear this man now saying, kindly, my wife, if you have some money that you've kept aside, may we now use that money because I've run out of finances. And this is where you find so many men are complaining because they are being told, your money is our money, but my money is my money. So when a man hears this, he tends to feel that he has been misused, and he thinks now it's the right time to react. So this man uses that as a ground, just waiting for any mistake that will come out. If something happens within, and maybe if the wife does something, this is where now the man decides either to react by beating the wife or even throwing some curse words. This also has been contributed by familiarity. The wife was not familiar about the husband she married. The husband was not familiar about the wife he married. So these people have a lot of time. Instead of familiarizing with one another in the right way, now it has become a judgment platform. Once you get to know the weakness of your spouse that you did not know, then people start fighting, people start using curse words. And this is where you find there are so many cases that have been reported to us by men who are reporting. They're talking about verbal abuse. And this has been contributed because you find as women we are so much blessed and we are gifted. We can speak a lot of words. Research has shown that we have a difference of around 13,000 words. Women can speak up to 20,000 words, whereas a man can speak up to 7,000 words. The major reason of around 80% plus cases that we have received has been mobile phones. We find so many men who had relationships outside marriage are now receiving calls. They cannot go to the toilet to hide because you find some of them have got self-contained houses. So even if they go to the toilets to hide and receive the calls, the wife is here and she goes, sits outside there and listens. These ladies, they feel it's their right to make calls because they're starving. Some of them already have children with these husbands. And these ladies know very well that these are married men. But nevertheless, because they are starving, they have to call and ask for their basic needs because they feel they are entitled to do that, which is true, because if they have given birth with this men or this man, then they have to ask for anything that they need. So these men are torn between the two. Do I receive this call or do I leave it? When they don't receive the calls, the ladies decide to send text messages. Then when the wife comes across this, then this is the time they start fighting and using curse words on each other. So mobile phones have really contributed to a very high percentage of domestic violence. Remember when there was no lockdown, these men were meeting their girlfriends outside there. We call them mpango wa kandos. They meet their mpango wa kandos outside there and they finish their business. If they were sending money on M-Pesa, they used to send money, delete the messages. But right now, even that money that is supposed to be sent, it's not there. So this has contributed to a lot of violence. Also, you find there are other factors that have contributed to this: unmet needs. And here, I'm going to speak about sex as a factor. You find now that people are together 24 hours, 7 days in a week, several months, several weeks have passed by. Now you find either of the partner tells the other one that they need their conjugal right. The other partner feels like, oh, we had this last night, we had this in the morning, and you're telling me to go back and give you your conjugal right during the daytime. The children are here, the house is too small. So you find this is an unmet need, that this man feels I'm entitled to this, it's my conjugal right. This woman feels I'm entitled to this, it's my conjugal right. So unmet needs have also contributed to at least 5% of cases of domestic violence that are being experienced during this time of lockdown. You find if this woman is supposed to be on family planning method, that she has to go to the hospital, she tries to explain to this man now that there is a lockdown and I cannot access the hospital easily, and this man doesn't want to believe that this is happening, we have to wait. He feels this is my conjugal right that I'm being denied. So unmet needs and sex being one of them have really contributed to domestic violence during this time of lockdown. We also have unresolved issues. You find women, we don't forget easily. Sometimes we keep on piling things that our husbands did to us 10 years ago are coming back at this time. You're together, and when this woman just calls, maybe it's a workmate, and because people are told to work from home, they need to consult, and because there has been an underlying unresolved issue for so long, then this issue emerges at this time. So many of unresolved issues. If this man had a relationship outside marriage and he decided to change and he no longer has any relationship outside marriage, and a workmate happens to call consulting on something, then because there has been that unresolved issue for so many years, you find this thing now emerges, it escalates to another level because you are there. This man has to call, he has to consult, this workmate has also to consult, and every other time you're working from home, we need to keep all our communication lines open. But when we don't want to understand, then unresolved past issues then becomes a thorn in the flesh. Then there are other petty issues that have contributed to some little percentage of domestic violence. House chores. You find there is this woman who used to have a home manager, and they have decided to give their home manager a break because they're not now working. The woman is taking care of the baby, the woman is supposed to clean the dishes, the woman is supposed to wash the clothes, and it continues and continues and continues. And this woman, from the time she wakes up in the morning, she is the last person to go to bed at night. And this woman feels that, yes, I am supposed to be doing this, but what is my husband doing? Just sitting down and watching TV. I believe during this time of lockdown, we should help each other. Nobody should work without any time, even 30 minutes rest. We are supposed to work together, team up to avoid domestic violence out of such issues. I call them petty because we are not supposed to fight because who did not wash utensils, who did not cook lunch, or there are other issues, and I don't mean that people should be fighting over big issues. No, I'm just calling them petty issues because they are issues that we are supposed just to sit down and come up with an agreement that, kindly, my husband, help me in doing this, my wife, you will help me in doing this. You just come up with an agreement so that we can cut down the cases of domestic violence, and we hope to see an end of domestic violence. Other issues that have contributed to this, and this one we ask our government to intervene. Going back to financial constraints, there are people who are not employed, people who are not expecting a salary every end month. These are people who do casual jobs. Our government should intervene and see how these families are able to put food on the table, because when there is no food, then the man is looked at as an irresponsible man who cannot provide for his family. So it's the responsibility of every government, and we call upon our government to come on board. They have been trying, but we ask them to try and do better and do their best to ensure that these families where men and women have been casual laborers and they are not able to put food on the table, they should not fight over a plate of meal. Why were you not able to put a plate of meal on the table? Yet we know it's because of the lockdown. Whenever there is violence, we find women and children suffer the most. And during this time of lockdown, we have found out our women and our children are suffering so much. There is no any other way a woman can be able to help at this time, because when there is lockdown, the woman is supposed to be at home taking care of the children, and you find when there is no food, this woman has a right to ask the husband, why don't we have food on the table? That is the truth, because it's a responsibility of a man to provide for the family. So when a woman asks this question and asks again and again, you find our men tend to become physical on the women. And this is where you find the woman has been beaten, has been hurt, and the woman now starts nursing the wounds. This is a double tragedy, because this woman is nursing the wounds. At the same time, the children are waiting for their mother to come and help them, especially where we have young children. So we find the effects of domestic violence, they they are very evident on women and children. You find a man can still go out at this time and meet with friends and maybe have a bite outside there, bite something, or the friends can decide to give back to their friend. They can have a surprise gift for their friends, and they will end up having lunch together in one way or another. Whereas the woman and the children are back at home waiting for this man. So you find women are going to suffer the most, and the children, because they are the ones who are going to be hungry. And when the children ask their mother about the food, the mother will ask the father. And when the father is asked and he doesn't want to respond to these questions, then he decides to turn back against the woman and hit the woman. Domestic violence is always on the rise every time families spend time together. It has risen so much during the lockdown season, but this has always also been evident during the times like when we have Christmas holidays, Easter holidays, but this time it's not very high compared to this season. Women also have fear of going out at this time. We have had rape cases being reported, and this has resulted to women now being very fearful in stepping out, and even girls. You cannot trust anybody outside there to give you, to take care of your children. Rape cases have also increased during this time of lockdown, and I urge everybody, do not overtrust everyone. We have all been locked down. The thieves have been locked down. The pastors have been locked down. The perpetrators of violence have also been locked down. The way we are being told, anybody could be suffering from coronavirus. Please be very keen, because you don't know who your neighbor is. You have been busy working, and don't trust anybody. Don't send your children to the neighbors. You don't know who can decide to turn against your children and become a rapist. Anybody can be a perpetrator of violence during this time of lockdown.